Schmameplay trailer. I hate this.
I hate video games, actually.
Yeah.
You know, I'm more fine than I thought I would be tonight, so that's
Yeah,
I think that's a win in my book. It's a good
that's
output.
good. Yeah, good output. It's the morning, so I think I'm coarse at the moment, but I'll be very fine later.
Rough.
Yeah, 1 to 1. Yeah, maybe I'm 1 to 1 right now. That's true.
Instead of
So,
between fine and very fine, I think that'd be more accurate.
yeah, well, yeah. That's true, that's true. We need that. So, let's let's talk about it. 914. Um, Zoe, is there anything, any interesting lessons you learned in this process?
Um,
Any fun things?
well, I guess because you did ask kind of how we turned its kind of esoteric nature into the game, and I think that's kind of one of the biggest call-outs that I wanted to make about 914, and I do talk about a little bit in the devlog that should be coming out soon. Um, that we intentionally tried to make 914 kind of vague and confusing to use, so people kind of have to rely on context clues and like experimenting and figuring out the machine for themselves. It's not like we don't give all the information to you right off the bat, so it's gonna be pretty fun to see how people figure things out for themselves.
Yeah.
Should I answer this literally in a gameplay sense?
Yeah,
I don't want to.
answer it literally. You don't
Okay,
I think you're good. You're good. Go for it. Like,
okay. I don't want to give out too much of the mystery. You know, if I just say,
yeah,
"Hey,
yeah.
if you do this, it'll do this."
Well, I think we can talk about like the more gameplay, the front facing parts of it, I think, are fine. Oh, no, they're very fine.
I guess what I'll say is that all of the outputs do varying things, and there is a variety of different outputs that you can get from the machine as a result from that. You got your guns, some a bit more special than others. You can get melee weapons. We've added a bunch of melee weapons to this with this update with the new melee system. And yes, sir. And there's Albie's the better person to answer that since you did the melee stuff.
God,
But
yeah, I did the melee stuff. I was is interesting actually. So we introduced a melee system first time in like point 13 or something like that. It was quite a while ago. And it was an interesting system. I did that sort of as an experiment, and it sort of had this directional input kind of thing. But we found that that was quite awkward in practice for various different melee weapons. So for point 17, we actually have a sort of a simpler and sort of more intuitive melee system. There's still some like the pipe and the knife still currently use the old system, but we've got this new system that's a lot more sort of. I think it's more timing based, it's more fun in that sense. And so we've got a. I think the main one we have in the new update is the tire iron. We have a couple of others that are coming in 0.17.1. Um,
Mm.
so I think that's the main thing. And then yeah, there's
Secrets.
there's a lot of them. The 3D and animation department just cranked out a lot of different melee items, fun things. The animations they made for those are amazing. We couldn't get all of them in time for 0.17, but they're absolutely getting into the game eventually. Um,
One other thing that you can get in 914, like on top of the weapons and melee weapons and stuff, you can also get consumables and throwables and such. So if you're in desperate need of a restock, uh, 914 might be able to help you with that.
yeah, that's true. The thing for me that I'm most excited for people to see is uh, the the whammies, as we have called them internally. I don't know actually what they're called. I don't know if they're referred to externally, but the things you get for bad outputs. Um,
The showcase
so
video said
yeah,
faulty outputs, so that's what I've been
faulty
reading
outputs.
the devlog.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's what we'll call them then. Faulty outputs. They're they're very interesting. The I know the D class testers. So we have the by the same name. It's kind of funny. Before we had this new update, the Discover program date. Um, we had a D class testing program, and that's what we call the sort of pre like alpha testing for each update. So we run it through some community members, and they give us blind feedback about um, how the update plays and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. I think occasionally we play with some of them as well. I think I team killed a couple of people there. Um, and so it was fun getting the D class of the community to play the D class update. Um, I know they had a lot of
Real
fun with
immersive.
whammies. Yeah, it was. Nothing gives me more joy. Yeah. It's also fun because obviously the early versions of the update are less stable, and they're sometimes missing some features and stuff like that. So, I think, those team members, sorry, those community members, get to experience, the the inner workings a little bit more as we sort of have to work around some of the quirks that haven't been, sort of ironed out yet. Um, yeah, pretty good, pretty fun. Yeah, I suppose I'll answer that one. So obviously, like, a lot of that direction definitely comes from Trey, the game director, and so he's really central to that. But from what I understand, it would be, the more on the Portal side of things than it would be on the, Atlas Trials things. I mean, Atlas Trials is a great game. I've played it, a little bit, especially with, some of the other members of the team. But I think that the vibes of Portal, it's a little less sinister, and the Discover program isn't actively sinister. It's not torturous, but it is very apathetic. So, in line with the SCP Foundation, the SCP Foundation, unless it's part of a specific containment procedure, generally doesn't torture specifically. Like you've got things that are cruel, certainly, like the femur breakers, Um, well, actually, I don't know if there's multiple figure breakers. There's probably only one. Um, and similar containment procedures like that, which are certainly cruel and unfeeling. But I don't think there's anything that's cruel for the sake of being cruel. Where like Outlast Trials and in games in that vibe definitely have a actively cruel atmosphere to them, which is super cool, and that's an awesome game, but not exactly what we're going for. Whereas Portal sort of has this sort of testing for the sake of testing idea, um, very besides GLaDOS, very apathetic to the user, the person who's being tested on, which sort of is closer. And I know there's some inspiration there um, with the sort of characters and vibe that's going on. Even though it's not one to one, we've got our own inspirations there.
I think
Yeah,
that
do
definitely
you
was a bit of an inspiration. It is also something that we're kind of closely looking at. It's just like the level of randomization with 914. Um, I think it definitely helps in making it kind of anomalous in nature, is having all this both the randomization and the fact that like you don't quite know what you're going to get until you experiment enough and figure out the machine enough for yourself. Definitely no anime girls from this one, though, unfortunately. But maybe it's for the best.
That's certainly fair. I wanna just preface with we don't have any, there's no monetary stuff with the, 914, just to be absolutely clear. Um, but I think yeah, yeah. I think there's I mean, there's a little bit of a danger in that. Like, one thing we're sort of careful about is we don't want it to be too like like Zoe said, we want it to sort of be like experimenting and figuring it out more so than gambling. So it's something that we sort of I know. So we had a game designer Penn working on the design of this, um, and they worked fairly closely with Zoe in doing the implementation and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that the intention is more so on the side of discovery and trying to figure that out than directly sort of gacha like. Obviously, with the randomization and like clear failure states, like the faulty outputs, there's going to be similarities, but we don't want to go too hard on the on that
Yeah.
side because of I mean there's connotations in the games industry. And I don't know, I can't speak for everyone on the team, but I'm not a huge fan of, like, bringing gambling into all places in people's life, um, especially not games, but, I think that's probably given the, gifs I'm seeing in the chat is now an, unpopular opinion. You know too much about this. Isaac, I
You're a
hope
little
you
bit
don't
too
have an
familiar.
addiction.
I guess you kinda
Get
have
out.
to.
Yeah, yeah, like, I mean, that's the social thing. There's some yeah, some of these gifts are very bizarre. I have very little context for all of this. Um, this is wild. That one's Korean, though. That's not Japanese.
So true.
That's yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's a lot of that. I know there's a lot of, stuff in that in that in that area. It's not something that I'm familiar with, but it's I mean, cool. They're in tactical gear, so that's cool. I like that.
Might need to capitalize on this.
Yeah. 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 We missed out on the $5 billion. That's just actually from one person. It's a very rich weeb. Um,
Uh, sure. I don't know if I'm allowed to actually show the code, but I'll show you. But I'll show you this fancy wireframe that you told me to set up.
you can probably show the blueprint code. I mean, personally, I don't really mind if you show some of the code of 914. I don't think it's like some crazy proprietary stuff. But maybe we don't want to show the like random elements because I want people to figure that
Yeah,
out
I don't
when
want to.
they go
Yeah, I don't want to expose it too much. Yeah, see, I have everything hidden over.
to.
It's also massive.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to zoom in on that spherical gear in the center? Because that is one of the elements that I think we're really proud of. This is a working spherical gear. Um, so I think in particular, Kyle F, who's our art director, sort of somewhere in the middle of the work on the 914 model, um, came up with this idea to use a spherical gear, and he got the actual like measurements and like mathematical equations or something, um, and and worked them out. And so we made that. We just made it, and so it rotates, and it would actually work. Um, Yeah, I think I don't know if it's if Kyle actually 3D printed it, but someone 3D printed one, and there is, like, working
So sick.
versions of this. Um, it's very cool. Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone on the team 3D printed it, but I know I've seen pictures of a 3D printed one. Um, the other one that's interesting is you can see in the background, some of these gears are real gears, and some of them are illusions. They're 2D sprites. Which is very fun. Yeah, we're peeling back the curtains here. Um, the Yeah, yeah, exactly. So the stuff that's up close are like 3D and they rotate properly. And then the more distant ones, we have a fun shader. We use some nice tech art trickery. Um, we have an atlas of a couple different gear images that we have, and then we store in the UV data. No one's going to know what I'm talking about here. The center of each gear that we can rotate around it, and we get this lovely effect without having to, you know, like break the performance bank.
Mhm.
Uh,
'Cause this is about what you're gonna be seeing in game. There's no way to
yeah,
tell from over here that that's 2D. I
yeah, yeah,
didn't even know it
exactly.
was until you said it. So
Yeah, once you turn off the wireframe, it's like everything sort of fades away. We have this
yeah.
really nice light coming through that you can see in the gameplay trailer. Oh, there's Sophie. That's our producer. Hello, Sophie. Everyone say hi. Um, she's in the chat. Um, uh, yeah, yeah. I think that's one of the funnest things for me. I wear many hats, but one of the things I get to do is do a lot of tech art on this game, and work with our 3D lead Dean, and the rest of the 3D team to sort of figure out ways to make this make complex things work in the game without like too much performance impact. Um, and things like
So
the
fascinating.
rotating gears are very fun. And I think you can also see on Zoe's screen that she's sharing right now is like some of the pipes are like rattling a bit as
I
well.
did
We've got
those.
lots of nice details there.
Oh, yeah.
I think you can say, Zoe, about
Okay,
the
I can
testings
just
or
say it?
credits.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, you're fine.
whatever you do put in your input, if you do turn on the machine, that thing is gone for good. It gets turned into whatever you get in the output. Um, and as for the cost, it's kind of a bit hard to see, but you can see these little tubes that display numbers that tells you what the cost of using the machine is. Um, and it's technically, if I remember the lore correctly, it's not actually a part of the machine. It was something that was added on by
Yeah,
facility, like the team rank display.
yeah, so there's a
It's like
couple of
tacked
things
onto it.
here that you can see are sort of different from the sort of gear punk, steampunk aesthetic. Um, and those are
It's
all
off the
things
note.
that have been added by the SCP Foundation to aid in their
Yeah,
testing. Yeah, so that lovely, matrix display.
outsource
Um,
actually.
trying to find the right view. Um,
Yeah,
the the little, vacuum tube display there, was really fun because it actually has all of the letters there, and it will display them by like, it looks like it's heating up the filament. That's another little tech art thing that I got to work on,
so
which was
fun.
really fun. Um, yeah, so essentially you're putting something in, you're paying a quote unquote token price. Or actually, no, I guess it's credits, sorry, is what we're calling them. We called them
Yeah,
tokens
yeah.
early on, sort of
Yeah,
internally.
internally we call them tokens.
So everything's like token crate or token cost in
See,
the
like
code.
you're still calling it tokens.
Yeah. But I think outwardly we call them credits. And so you spend those. The credits are like a temporary currency in the course of one run of the testing chambers.
Yeah,
Um,
you get them by completing the tests, and there's optional challenges and stuff you could do to get more rewards and stuff. So it's like our way of rewarding you for going above and beyond, being a
yeah.
good little test subject.
Yeah.
Now you get to gamble more.
Well, I think the vacuum tube is showing the cost
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
credits. It
It'll tell
actually
you how many credits you need to spend to use the machine for that given
yes.
setting.
Which is actually an interesting thing because earlier on, in the first iteration of that, we didn't have any UI elements to show your credits, so we actually had that showing your credit count. Um, but then, and at the time, the cost for each setting was all the same. But that's something we actually changed in the middle of development. I think after the first D class test because um, it was it was both confusing and sort of too easy to work with. And you didn't know what the cost was. Oh, yeah. Oh,
If only it was that easy.
yeah, I mean, that's game development. We just actually put the whole game into the 914, and, this whole time, I gotta admit, we've just been putting it in one-to-one. It's just the same thing coming out. We've been lying. So maybe if we put it into very fine, the game will come out and it'll be
I've
released.
actually been setting it onto rough. I've been making the game worse, actually.
Oh, no!
Guys,
No! God damn it.
nobody found out until now.
The secret's been revealed. So I'm trying to see yeah.
Yeah, tokenomics.
Okay. So
Am
okay,
I
I
allowed
actually
to
really
go into
wanna
the chat and ask or answer like questions I see, or like
yeah,
is that
you're allowed
not
to answer
okay?
questions in chat
Okay,
or to answer them here. You can both.
okay. Because I do see somebody asking if tokens are shared across the group or per person. And as far
Ah,
as I'm
yes,
aware,
yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
they're earned across the group, so the whole group will earn tokens, but you spend them on an individual basis.
Yes, and sometimes you can lose tokens as well.
Yeah. So
Well,
like
so
you complete a challenge, everybody gets, for example, 3 tokens that they can spend, and everybody can spend their 3 tokens however they want.
yes, that's so there's an interesting thing here because one of the things you'll notice, and I think this is fine to say, uh, when you first go into the chamber is each um, each player has their own side, is what it's called, of 914. So imagine like if 914 is a big machine, you're all on different sides of it, and so you get to upgrade your weapons separately. Um, it was something that we discussed a lot in development, especially when we were trying to figure out the design of 914. Is like how to handle multiple players, and theoretically how to handle any amount of players. So like as we launch the maximum recommended player count, and I think the maximum in peer to peer sessions is 4 players. But we wanted to support theoretically as many players as we wanted. Um, so we didn't want anything to have a hard limit that would stop us from being able to have more players. So the game actually spawns in one upgrade room, which is the room that has 914 in it per player. And there's a whole lot of really painful and complicated code that went into getting Unreal Engine to let us spawn in a level and have it be networked. Um, networked meaning have players be able to do stuff on a server and have all of the results of that be replicated across the different players. It was a real challenge, but a lot of fun to get working. Well, actually, okay, that's a lie. It was not fun. It was traumatizing to get that working.
Networking
But
is
like,
not fun. It's nice when it works, though.
yeah, but
Ah, yes, indeed.
Yeah, the core processing matrix sort of interacts with the bytecode.
Many such cases.
Many such cases. So something I actually don't know. Zoe, if you stop sharing your screen just for a moment, I want to show something with the vacuum tubes, and then I see some questions that we might want to answer. I think only one. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm gonna share my screen and full screen this. Wait, no, I can't. Just hide this so that I'm not going to get any trouble. So I just want to show this vacuum tube display because this was a lot of fun to work on. We can actually change which numbers are displayed, and you can see it's actually correct. Like each number is lighting up.
So dope.
Up, 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 up. This was so much fun to work on. And it was awesome. Okay, if it goes above 100, it gets confused. But yeah, this was so much fun to work on. And yeah, very cool. Very happy with the output. I don't know what happens if it goes negative. It just disappears. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so we have real accurate filament vacuum tube displays in the game. So that's a cool flex.
Very, very cool.
Okay, I'll stop screen sharing again. You can pull your screen up again, Zoe. I just wanted to show that one thing.
Not like my screen is sharing too much anyway, so.
Cool.
I do see somebody in the Discord chat ask what the biggest challenge while programming 914 is. Which is interesting because I think the thing that was most challenging was also the thing that was the most fun, which was all the randomization with the machine. But I think the thing that made it challenging was maybe not necessarily programming it itself, it was more so testing it. Because there's just so many different possible outputs and combinations of results and stuff that you can get. It took a while to get a lot of feedback for like balancing and such. So we didn't get most of that feedback until like long after my initial work on 914 was done, and I had to kind of visit it to add different elements to it to fix the balance and all that. But once the game mode itself was like the pieces were finally getting put together, and we could do the full like proper gameplay loop, it was definitely a lot easier to get the feedback that we needed then.
Yeah, certainly. I see one question in the YouTube chat. I can bring it up again. Where is it?
Which one was
Is
it?
the amount of trials limited, or does it go on indefinitely? That I kind of want to answer, which is that in 0.17, it is limited. There is a limited number of trials, and the order of them is always the same. However, one of the things that we're working on, and we're already working on the patch, so how this works is we have some of the team, while we're doing the QA sort of bug fixing for 0.17, we have a couple of people start on the early stuff for 0.17.1. And sometimes there's fixes to bugs and changes to features that we actually get done in time for the update, but we haven't had time to QA it. So we haven't had time to test and make sure it's all good. And we don't want to break the game right at the end, just when we're about to release the update. So we do it on a separate branch of the game. And then we port all of the fixes over from the 0.17 into 0.17.1. And then we start working on that earnest once the update comes out. So there are some changes, and I believe Trey has talked about this a little bit publicly. There are some changes to how the chambers are working and the sequencing of them that we've either already done or are currently working on for the next update, which is kind of interesting because like the most current version is not what's being released. That said, there is I mean, I still think it's pretty fun with the linear sequence, and it's pretty difficult. So like we've kind of designed this so that you're not going to complete it on your first try, or at least most people aren't going to complete it on their first try, which hopefully is going to add an element of like it should be a real challenge to get all the way through.
Well, that brings up a really interesting question. To me, now we're not asking you guys a question. I'm asking you, the audience. Is there a preferred amount of trials that you'd like to have? Would you like to have 50 waves? Would you rather have 100 waves? Would you rather have 1,000 waves? Or would you rather have it endless? What do you guys want? I'm going to put a poll. I'm very curious to see like what you guys would like as a gameplay experience. Um, yeah.
Just to be clear, this poll is not legally binding.
This is just market research. This is not. No one on the team is obligated to fulfill this, but I think it was very interesting.
Yeah, let's give that a go. I don't know how we do the polls. Is this just like?
I got it. Don't worry.
Oh, I see.
50. It'll be up in 2 seconds. 100
Okay.
waves. 1,000 waves. Infinity.
While you're doing that, bump in the night. Oh, there we go. We've got the in the YouTube. No, sorry, in the Discord chat we have a poll. I don't know if you can do polls in YouTube.
Yes, you can. I'm doing that right now.
Oh, you can.
Yeah.
Very cool. I think Bump in the Night asks while we're collecting these poll results, will 914 and the new melee weapons be available in the testing map? I don't think 914 is going to be available anywhere other than the testing chambers. Testing chambers are what we call the new game mode. I think it might be test chambers in the menus. The new melee weapons are available, but I don't think we have them. I can't say for certain, but I don't think we have them placed in the testing maps. But you can add them with commands if you want to, like mess around with the new weapons. And the tire iron, which is I think the new melee weapon we're adding right now, is very good. it was actually too good at first. It did like 30 damage or something like that, or enough for you to kill something in 3 hits, and you can like spam that. And so we figured out pretty early on you can just pull out the tire iron and just whack everything, and it just explodes their heads. So it's been balanced a little bit more now. It's still pretty good though, honestly. Better than you'd expect.
No, you can't put your friends into 914 and get better friends. So what the question was.
That's good. I wish you could. It'd be fun. The fun thing that's sort of been set up in this, and this is sort of built into the design, is there's actually a larger door on 914, but that's sort of been inside that larger door. There's a smaller door, and the smaller door is what you're opening in this game mode, and so you can put I think it's just guns in right now. I don't know if we're going to change that, but sort of put guns in, and when you activate the machine, that closes and it slides in, and then something else slides out when it's done. Putting a D class 3 input and a chaos insurgent comes out. That's great. I mean, that's the SCP-SL pipeline, isn't it? Pilentus asks, will there be any ranged foes in the game mode? Yes. So in addition to SCP-610, which has ranged attacks, there is also the new anomaly, which I don't think I can reveal too much about because I don't know what we've said publicly. But there is one new anomaly which can both shoot you and slap you.
Well, I think with the new gameplay trailer we just put out, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. There's a pretty big clue into what that anomaly is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yes, you can see it, but I don't think we've said explicitly what it does. So I don't want to reveal.
Yeah.
But yes, and I think in the devlog that will be coming out soon-ish, I believe, we do talk about the new enemy and how it works, or at least some of what it does, and obviously also I think it's Jason, who's our senior AI programmer. He's going over in the devlog. He goes over this sort of some of the iterations that we did on it and how we got it through, because the new enemy actually wasn't originally planned at the very start. We had a different enemy in mind, but through testing it, testing the update, and when we're trying to figure out how we're going to approach it, we decided to go a different direction. That was Trey's decision, and so we sort of tried something else, and it worked out really, really well. I'm really glad that we went with what we did. Put a mannequin. Yes, well, yeah, who knows what happens if you put the mannequin inside 914. Put your useless friend in 914 and sacrifice them for a single box of ammo. Yes, that would be good. I wish we could do that. But you'd have to figure out first how to get your friend into the chamber with you. Because by default in the game you're separated.
Well, here's an interesting question that someone asked earlier that we didn't get a chance to go over. When someone puts a weapon or item into the machine, and are they the only one who can claim the output, or could hypothetically your friends steal your the super hyper cool weapon if you get a good one, a good roll?
No, your stuff is safe because everybody is separated into their own instance of the 914 room.
Shoot.
So you're all on different sides of the machine. So if you see on the blueprint here, it says SCP-914 side A2. I believe the text changes depending on which side that you're on.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, so you're all on different sides of the machine.
So if you're can you see your buddies when you're in the machine room, or if it's instanced, or are you all like in four parallel versions of the machine, one network space?
I think you're still on the same map. You could see their names. Like you could see that they're somewhere else that's not where you're at. But
yeah, absolutely. It would have been fun. I mean, we wouldn't have done this because this would be a nightmare, but to actually allow you to like see through a window to your friends, it was already difficult enough to get this to work, so I don't think I would have accepted that extra challenge. But yeah, you're sort of, in terms of as far as the game is concerned, you're sort of in different versions of it placed next to each other. And if you were to use the spectator cam and sort of zoom out, you'd be able to see each of the different chambers. Yes. I see a question from Zach. Who is the biggest SCP nerd in a fray? I would think that the biggest SCP nerd is Gabriel Caro, the writer, because, well, he's an SCP writer, so he's a pretty big SCP nerd. But as for the second place of that, I think I'm not exactly sure. I think our game director Trey is pretty into the SCP stuff, as you can imagine. Our art director, yeah, our art director, Kyle, he's pretty into SCP, and he often will come up with surprising ideas for SCPs that we can implement, because I believe there's technically a third and possibly a fourth SCP in this new update, but they're like sort of set dressing SCPs. They don't have any gameplay implication, and so sort of goodie points for anyone who can find those when the update goes live.
Dave coming back?
Not for this update. I wish. It'd be cool if you could like put a cardboard box in and get Dave out or something like that. Yeah, so there's some of those contributions come from that direction, and I believe it was Kyle's idea for at least one of those. So he's a pretty big SCP.
Another
I see someone. Oh yeah, you go, Isaac.
another interesting question. Actually, a genuine question. When another player dies in multiplayer, would it be possible for their corpse to join the horde? I assume to become like one of the placeholder zombies, but that sounds like a huge programming challenge, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So that's something that honestly we really wanted to do, and I know Trey has asked me if this is possible a couple of times, because it would be really awesome. The problem is that, well, first of all, our AI characters are separate from our player characters. Um, but the second thing being, um, trying to have like imagine even if it wasn't a player character, it was just like going from a soldier AI to a zombie AI. You have to then have your soldier AI support switching out its AI to the zombie AI and has to be able to do everything that a zombie can do. Um, which is really tricky. Of course, you could, figure out some way to spawn in a zombie with the exact same position and animation as the guard and switch that out. And that's if we were to do that, that's probably what we'd try and do. But it's a very, very difficult challenge. So it's probably not a feature that's going to make it, unfortunately. Um,
That would be
but
cool.
I mean, I hope to prove myself wrong, honestly, because it
Now,
would be very cool.
when you're kind of like building, that's an interesting question. When you're kind of building things, like how much of it is just like hitting your head for like networking and numbers and cool matrix code versus like finding like the eureka movements? Because when I see like your code screens, to me it looks like a nightmare, but it looks really cool for the uninitiated.
It's just my code that's a nightmare. But I mean, I don't know, Zoe. Maybe you can speak to how it was with 914 because I should like I'm trying to remember if there was any particular difficulties with 914 other than perhaps the whammies. Sorry, the faulty outputs being too common at various points. But I think in general it
Yeah,
went pretty
that was an easy
smoothly.
thing to adjust at least.
Yeah, yeah, it was mainly stats there. But for me, so the main things I worked on three things in particular. I worked on lots of other things, but the three main things that I worked on was the teleporting. Well, we don't call it teleporting in the game, and so to the player it's not teleporting, but we teleport the player around in order to move them to different chambers and stuff. But the difficult thing is it has to look seamless. So it's always like you're getting in an elevator and from the player's perspective, you sort of go down the elevator, it fades to black, and then you are still going down an elevator. Um, and there's sort of similar things for each sort of section because you have to go from the waiting room to a chamber to the upgrade room to the waiting room and back to the next chamber. And that was a huge challenge alongside the other big thing that I was working on, which was actually getting the different 914 rooms to instance separately for different players. And I was actually working on a fix for a bug with that as recently as yesterday. And to understand the significance of that, you must know that all work has stopped on 0.17 at this point. The update is supposed to be completely done. But one of the things that comes through, like we're doing QA testing right now to make sure that the version of the update is absolutely ready. Sometimes we run into a critical issue that we didn't even realize was there the whole time. And in particular, I had to like I almost never do this, but I had to change a critical piece of code for the instancing of the different levels because and this will tell you how specific the some of the issues we run into. If you're on a dedicated server and there's two players or more, and at least one of them has more than 200 ping, and you're exiting a chamber and you go down the elevator into the upgrade rooms, this dedicated server would just completely hard crash. It would just crash immediately, done. And obviously, this is a critical issue, but as you can imagine, it took us a while to discover in the first place because of how specific it was.
That was specific.
Yeah. And yeah, so I had to fix that issue, and Zach is asking, that is very specific what caused it. It was, I mean, I can't. Essentially, it was because we're trying to do something that Unreal Engine doesn't support actively. So, working with Unreal Engine is a really powerful tool, but it's always important to understand. It was made. It's called Unreal Engine for a reason. It was made for Unreal Tournament. So Epic Games both makes the Unreal Engine and they work on video games. So most recently, obviously, Fortnite is the game that Unreal is made for. And so generally, if you're doing the same things in Unreal Engine that Epic Games is doing, you're going to have a pretty good time because they make really, really good tools because they use them. But because they're also a development studio, if you're trying to do things that they haven't done before or other prominent games made in that engine haven't done before, it's very common that you'll run into issues. And this is just a pretty regular thing when working with game engines, is they're not like omnipotent or omniscient or whatever. They're made for specific purposes. So in this case, spawning in levels instanced that are networked for multiple players is just not a use case that Unreal supports natively. And so we have to do a lot of low level sort of messing around with Unreal's code to sort of convince it that these levels can be spawned in and networked and it's all consistent across all the clients. So that's a lot of difficulty.
What did you say?
And
hacked
causes issues.
the Matrix?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, that's what it felt like. It felt like hacking the Matrix. And there's some really interesting code in there that I wish I could show. And I mean, honestly, maybe at some point I can show, where you can see, like, essentially we're gaslighting the engine into thinking that these levels were always loaded the whole time, so that it is allowed to network them across different clients. So yeah, gaslighting the engine is difficult and sometimes causes bugs.
Well, does that mean that the Fortnite, what's that name? Jonesy or the Fishman or the Tomato Town guy is gonna like show up in Australia and you can't mess with the Unreal Engine. That's Epic's proprietary. How do you gaslight a game engine?
Well, so that's something that's kind of interesting. Is one of the benefits of Unreal is while it's not open source, it's a bit of a misnomer. It is source available. So if you have a license to the Unreal Engine, which is free apart from the royalty that you have to pay to Epic Games, you have access to the source code and you're allowed to modify it. So I didn't have to modify the source code for in order to make this feature work. But I did have to look at the source code because the way to get this working is essentially to look at how the game engine does certain functions when it's supposed to do what it's meant to do, and you try and replicate that in order to set up all the data and memory in the same way that it would be if it had been loaded the correct way. And this is not like a unique thing to us. Like it sounds very impressive, but generally a lot of professional game studios are going to do this sort of stuff. And it's a little bit different for each engine. So for example, if we were making a game in Unity is not source available unless you pay for a special license for that. However, it is very, very flexible. And so people working in Unity use different kind of tricks in order to gaslight Unity into doing what they want, in a different way to how we work with the Unreal Engine. And it's all up to the developer, really. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's you can get some cool results, and it allows you to do things that are unique, which is like, I don't think there's many games in Unreal that have this sort of feature where you have multiple instance levels. And certainly now that we have this code available and working in our code base, it certainly means that we can do more things in the future, and mess around with more similar features if we wanted to in the future.
be very fun to play around with in future levels.
So an interesting thing, we've definitely got some results for the votes. Whatchamacallit, on Discord, 50 Wave seems to be the most popular with a 47% tally. But on YouTube, 36% of the tally is going to Infinity. They just want to play the mode forever. But 50 Wave says...
Unfortunately, there's...
Oops, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say there's a lot of numbers between 50 and infinity, so I'm not sure if we can meet in the middle for that one.
Well, actually, that's the problem with infinity, is most of the numbers between 50 and infinity are closer to infinity than they are to 50. Well, I mean, on the human scale, I guess. I actually see Scav in the chat in YouTube, and I believe that is Verbose, who actually worked at Affray for a while, a couple of years ago. So it's cool to see you here. Hello. One of us is real quiet on the mic. I hope that's not me.
Me?
Hopefully it's not me. I was like tooling around with my settings. But let us know, Scav, which one of us is the most quiet. But I can hear you, Albarnie and Zoe, crystal clear.
Cool. Yes. Yes, so I see you talk about the making custom edit tools. Absolutely. I'm a big fan of editor tooling. And one of the things that is paramount for us to do what we do on 5K is having solid editor tooling, because we don't have the resources. Like, we're not a large studio. We're relatively small relative to, I think, to the type of game that we're trying to make. Certainly making a game that's sort of being continuously updated is a lot of work. And like having good editor tooling and having access to being able to make custom editor tooling is absolutely essential. Yeah.
So, sorry, was there something that caught your eye?
No, you go.
I was curious to ask, what kind of so what are the tokenomics like on average per chamber? How many tokens am I earning? What do I have to do to earn a token? What's the most amount of tokens I could put in the machine? Let's talk economy here. How do we program the economy?
The economy.
Well,
I can't speak for the specific numbers that you get for it, but I believe you do get tokens or credits. We call them tokens internally at the start, but officially I believe they're called credits.
Yeah.
For completing one of the testing chambers, and there's also kind of optional challenges that you can take on for each chamber, and those will also give you extra. Those will give you extra credits. They'll kind of give you more XP, like score for your team, which can also increase your team rank. And each setting for 914 has differing costs. Very Fine, obviously, being the most expensive out of all of them. Also, the most risky to use. So it's up to you whether you want to use your tokens to gamble on Very Fine. But if you do manage to get something from it, it'll be real good. Be very exciting, hopefully.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
We keep some cool stuff over there. So.
Yeah, and to speak to what you're saying, Zoe, part of the reason we can't say exactly how many tokens you get from each chamber is because it does change depending on how many challenges the player completes, whether or not any players died, whether or not you failed any challenges, and of course the chamber itself. So later chambers give you more tokens than the earlier chambers to make it harder for you to get like the crazy stuff really early on, and a little bit easier for you to get more powerful stuff later on as the game progresses.
Yeah, we all tried in all the departments very hard to make the difficulty kind of gradually go up with every chamber. So
Yeah.
One way that we did do that was with our team rank system. So the more challenges you complete, the kind of better your team is overall at completing the trials will upgrade your rank. And that in turn also affects 914, which is why you could see there's a little display here saying what your team rank number is. And that will basically increase the pool of potential weapons that you can get in the machine. So the higher
Yeah.
rank you are, you can get better stuff gradually as your rank progresses. It's
And
another
more
fun
more
level of,
attachments as well.
and more attachments. That's right. So even if it's considered like a lower team rank gun, it can still get an upgrade by having your team rank be higher.
So do you think
Yeah.
as we get closer to 1.0, we'll see like little updates? Like I don't know how many different like modified guns and special guns you have, and do you think we'll see more stuff be added over time? Like, what's your dream of like how many different variables you can get out of this bad boy?
In terms of normal
Um,
guns, I mean, for sure, I think any regular gun, if any, that we have between now and I don't know, the end of time, can very easily be added to the pool of guns that 914 can draw from. As terms of
yeah, absolutely.
like fancy like anomalous stuff specific to 914, I can't particularly answer that one. Maybe LB can.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things with this update and this game mode that we're introducing is having something that's easy to add new content um, for the update because, or for the updates throughout development. Because one of the things is that eventually this game, unfortunately, does have to be released. It has to be finished. And in order to get there, we
Unfortunately.
need, yeah, unfortunately, we do have to finish different parts of the game. Go figure, right? Um, but it is way harder to work on a campaign for a game if you have to release every single section of it as you go, versus like being able to work on multiple sections in tandem with each other. Because, for example, when you work on, let's say you have section A, B, and C, if you're working on them linearly, by the time you get to section C, you might have figured out some things that change how the gameplay works because you've figured out that that's actually more fun or more interesting, and you have to go back and change section A and B. And if you have to polish each section and bug fix it and get it ready for a release each time, it takes a lot more time to finish that development. And so while like being in early access gives us a lot of resources and is really awesome, and we get a lot of that feedback that we need, we one of the things we realized as we were going through is that we need a game mode that's easier to add more content to, so that when we're working on the levels, we don't have to be so like hard on releasing every section of the campaign as it's finished. We can have some sort of more replayable content that people can be playing while we work on these updates to the campaign. Um, so we get a little bit more discretion about when we want to release sections of the campaign. Because one of the things about like being a quote unquote live service game, even though I hate that term, is we get income based on people purchasing the game. And income money is what we use to pay developers. It's what we use to make the game. So every every time someone buys the game, that's a little bit more budget that we have to spend on making the game. And so if we have something that's more replayable, then that means we can update that with a lot less work while we're working on the rest of the game and still have income to continue doing that.
You see, it's funny. Like most of you guys were really psyched and love to see the enthusiasm. There are some people who were like, "Why is the main story ready yet?" I thought you'd be excited. This gives you like something to do once you play through the main story, because that only takes a couple hours, and the new content. It takes a lot of time to prep like kind of like story based FPS stuff. That's why they've got like 5,000 people making the Call of Duty campaigns that nobody plays.
Yeah, like, and absolutely, like the campaign, the story is where it's at. Like that's what's like the main meat of the game. And that's definitely like what we want to be working on. But yeah, like the answer to that question is like, why aren't we currently working on the story? The answer is, well, we actually are. It's just we're releasing this now to give people a little bit more stuff to play and keep those player counts higher while we work on the more like linear sections of the game. Um, yeah. So the thing is like, when are we going to be working on the campaign again? We already are, and we will be, but this update is allowing us to have a little bit more room there.
And honestly, I think you over delivered. Like people were just like, "Oh, wave survival update. Let's have the zombies not spawn and crash the game." And it's like, "Oh, you think you're just getting a wave survival update? You just think the zombies aren't going to get stuck in the wall? Well, how about a full new mode, an entire new economy system, SCP-914 adapted to shooter gameplay, 10 unique chambers, unique gameplay possibilities, infinite replayability. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love a good horde mode?
Yeah, so
Yeah, have you do the voiceover for the trailer?
yeah. It's actually something that I'm really curious about, and something that those of you who do play the current wave survival mode, when this update comes out, I'd love to get your guys' feedback on is how you, because it's not exactly a one-to-one of the wave survival. Like it has a sequence to it. It has multiple sort of chambers coming one after another. Um, but within those chambers, you do have waves and stuff like that. I want to know if that meets people's expectations for that kind of thing. You still can access the old wave survival mode, and we are actually going to be updating it a little bit for 0.17.1, just to match the quality wise of some of the arting that we have. But it is like it is something that's kind of, I think, interesting to see, because I think it scratches that itch, but I want to know if it scratches that itch for everyone. Someone asked, I saw in the chambers some walls were moving. Will the chambers change during play? Some of them do, some of them don't. Moving things around is very difficult to work with like AI and stuff like that. And one of the reasons that our game runs so well on so many platforms is because we use a lot of static lighting and stuff like that. So we have to be careful with what we have move and not move and change. And Sapasol 454 is talking about the old wave survival where it will break all the time. I believe there are also some fixes in this update for the classic wave survival that make it break less.
Wait, can you still do the classic wave survival if you want? It's not like
You can,
Curse of the
yeah.
Shadow. Oh, snap!
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
that's so
still
cool.
available separately, so people can play that if they want. Um, yes, absolutely.
Oh, is it hard to access, or is it like easily within the menu?
Oh no, it's right next to it. So you sort of, there's a sub menu and you click onto it and you can either play the new mode or you can play the old mode. It's right sort of next to each other. It's very very accessible.
So what you call it? Original Wave Survival Pros. We're still winning.
Yes, still winning, and there are going to be more updates to the in 0.17.1, the patch that comes after this update. There will be more updates to the classic wave survival as well, just to sort of bring it up, sort of quality wise of the map, so that it looks consistent and stuff. And so I think people will enjoy that. Yeah.
Hopefully, you'll be very busy with this between this and the updated classic wave survival. as you wait for update 0118. Here's a kind of a question for both of you. Do you have like a favorite wave survival mode from like a shooter game? Like, are you the Gears of War Horde mode is the classic example. What's that other
Hmm.
game? The Halo Firefight is another classic wave survival. I think the Call of Duties have wave survival. And any personal preference?
Huh. That's a good question. Do you have anything,
I,
Zoe?
I regret to tell you that I don't actually play a lot of FPS games. Believe it or not, despite both of my jobs in the game industry, being working on tactical shooters, I don't actually play them myself very much. I'm an RPG girly.
Well,
What?
that's actually really common, and it's kind of interesting. Is generally game devs don't play the kind of games that they make.
Yeah.
It's a weird sort of phenomena. I mean, that's not universal. Like, I know a lot of our team plays a lot of FPS games. I'm very into tactical shooters and horror games and stuff like that. But generally, like across the industry as a whole, there's a lot of people who work on very different games to what they make, which is kind of fun and interesting and kind of counterintuitive. For me, my favorite wave survival, I would have to say, is the survival mode in Insurgency 2014,
Mm.
the Source Engine one, where you run around. Because I know I've played a lot of that, and I just end up running around with like a Makarov, and like fully kitted out. That was a lot of fun. I've played a lot of that.
What makes that
Um,
horde mode so good for you?
well, I think it's the sort of dynamicism. So in that game mode, in that game, you have to move between different points, and you're sort of blowing up caches and stuff like that as you go. And I think the are you blowing up caches, or you either that? I can't remember exactly what you're doing because it's been a bit of a while since I've played it. But I think moving through the maps gives you that tactical gameplay while still having a survival mode, which is a lot of fun. So that's why I think that's one of my favorites.
I think Gears of War 3 Horde mode is probably my personal favorite. I just love like getting currency for killing monsters. I think the game has like a tremendous amount of creature variety. It also randomizes the waves, so you're never quite sure what you're gonna get. Plus, it is the boss waves. It just has a great progression. The only problem is that the waves take like there's 50 waves, so it takes like 2.5, 3 hours to complete a horde mode match, which is a huge time sink. But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I haven't played Gears 5. I probably should. There's a lot of games I need to play. I
Uh,
don't have time. I'm always working on games.
yeah, Gears 5's Horde mode is interesting. I wasn't the biggest fan because it was like this weird hybrid of like previous Gears games. Plus, they did this like hero shooter light where every character was like a class with like special abilities. It wasn't my favorite, but I think the third one was like peak Horde mode.
Interesting. Okay, Gears 3 then is the one I need to play, I guess.
Yeah, that would
Um,
be my recommendation. You can probably get it for like $5 now. uh,
so I see. Someone says, Tacit says, speaking of COD zombies, will 3199 babies be akin to monkey bombs from COD zombies, distracting and drawing zombies away from players? The answer is no, but we have talked about that sort of thing internally because it would be
First
interesting,
talking
but
about
right
that.
now it doesn't. Oh, sorry, Zoe.
And I was just gonna say, I remember us talking about that. But
Yeah.
Well, here's a big question. The 3199 baby is probably what's been shown the most of like the whammies or the extra things. What does it do? Does it squawk? Does that bring enemies towards me? Does it scare away enemies? Do I just lose good boy points by throwing it into the wall? What happens with the chicken man baby?
You can pat it, I believe. Um, you can shake the baby. Um, That's my favorite thing to do with it. And you can throw it. Those are the main 3 things that you can do with it.
What was the first one? Path it?
Pat it like with your hand.
Good bets.
Yeah, shaking. Yeah, well, like my baby's shaking, not stirred. Yeah, don't shake real babies. By the way, that's a bad thing to do. But 3199 babies, that's fine.
It's actually probably like morally correct for you to do that.
Yeah, those things are abominations.
If you pat it, does that like get the 3199 adults to like come on your side and start fighting monsters for you?
I mean, okay, imagine you saw, let's flip the tables. Let's do some empathy real quick. Imagine you saw a 3199 adult instance patting your baby. Would you be friends with it or would you be angry at it? I don't think I'd be friends with it. I would be terrified.
Why are you holding my baby?
Yeah. I'd be like, give me back my baby.
I don't know. Maybe it triggers like some sort of emotional conditional response where like patting the baby triggers its empathy circle and it understands that you were like the top one. Maybe it's like that scene in Aliens where Ripley goes into the alien hive and she has the flamethrower. She points it at the alien eggs and she gets the alien queen to do things and like not attack her. So maybe that's what it is. It's like that scene in Halo 3 where the Flood teams up with you for like one segment of gameplay to stop the Halo.
Flood teams up with you?
Yeah, very briefly at the end of Halo 3. There's like a one sequence where the Flood teams up with you to stop firing the Halo.
You know, it's funny. I think I've played all of Halo 1 and 2 and just not. I don't think I've finished Halo 3. I played ODST though.
Oh, you didn't finish the fight? How could you not finish the fight?
I don't know. I need to go. I have the Master Chief Collection. I got to go back and do that. So I saw another question that Tassa asked. Why the updated 098 model? What was wrong with the old model? There's nothing wrong particularly with the old model, but I mean, some of the things in terms of updating is just in terms of direction. So like some of the things when they were first introduced was a long time ago, and we're trying to make sure everything is sort of in a similar art style and a similar kind of direction. But with 098 specifically, it's about sort of communication and the sort of gameplay implications. So, first of all, there's actually a feature with 098 that most people, I would wager, don't know about, which is if you shoot the top of them and the front of them, bullets will sometimes bounce off, and they're more resistant to shots from that direction. But if you shoot the underside, they will take more damage, and your bullets won't ricochet. And that was kind of hard to communicate with the old model. Whereas with the new one, the coloring and the design of it is much clearer to that respect. The other thing is that the legs are a bit thicker, so it's a bit easier to shoot the legs as opposed to only being able to shoot the body. So the main reason is consistency there. But other than that, it's also because in general there's some other updates we want to do in the future to 098. And so having a better base that's a bit more similar to where we want to go with the other ones gives us more room.
I see somebody asks what would be our favorite part of this update. Other than 914, because I know I'll be very biased if I were to state that. It's like my child at this point. I think my favorite thing about this update that I think everyone else is going to find very fun is just all of the level of like detail and flavor and just like juice, I guess, with
the sauce, as the young kids call it.
Yeah, with all of the like the voice acting and all of the I don't know how to word this without going into too much detail, but just a lot of flavor stuff. Maybe not quite Easter eggs, but just a lot of fun little things like that with the voices, with Arlie. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There is a couple of D-class Easter eggs in there, like notes and stuff that you can find if you look hard enough. Yeah.
Even things like, I guess, like shown with the model, there's like just the signs, the little pieces of lore and stuff. There's just like a lot of attention to detail with just the environment and the world and the, I guess, kind of storytelling in a way. The really brings you into the game mode, and it's very fun. It's gonna be
Yeah.
very exciting for people to see that.
To speak to that as well, I believe so Evelyn, who's our lead, sound lead, said something like there's over 140 voice lines in this update. So there is a lot of variation and things that and rare dialogue lines that you can hear, ranging from funny to unsettling to weird to just like interesting, that you get from both the test proctor as well as from Ali, which yeah, and there's also the testing chamber questions, which I won't reveal any more about, but there's some fun things there. And I see Gabriel in the chat. I believe all of the questions were written by Gabriel, as well as
That was
a
one
good
of the
chunk
things I
voice
was
lines.
alluding to, but I couldn't really say anything about.
Yeah.
But
Are these like riddles of the Sphinxes? Do you get credits for answering them correctly?
I don't think I want to say any more about it
Okay.
because I want people to experience it. But I think it's very fun. I think people.
it's very flavorful. It really
Yeah.
adds a lot to the just kind of vibe of the game mode. And there's a lot of stuff like that that really gets you kind of immersed in a way.
Yeah. I want to give some love to the YouTube chat because we've been reading a lot of Discord chat questions.
Oh, go ahead if there's YouTube people you'd like to address. There's
Yeah, let's see. There's some very nice comments. Thank you, Sergey. And SCP-049 is cool. But I see Worm asked. Oh wait, sorry, no. Omar Rodriguez asks, are there any SCPs you guys would potentially want to add that might not be possible? And they mentioned the scrubs. Yeah, so SCPs that we'd want to add but probably can't. That's a good question. Trying to think. I mean, one of the ones that I really like, for like kind of obvious reasons, is one of the 001 proposals, When Day Breaks, is a really, really cool one that I would love to do something with, but just flat out, we just can't. It's just not viable for the kind of game that 5K is, but would be a lot of fun to work on. So like that's one of the ones that I really wish, like, I don't think practically we ever could, but would be very cool. I don't know if you have any
SCPs you'd like, or you don't have maybe not encyclopedic knowledge of all 8,000.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not as well versed in the lore as maybe other people are.
I'll give you a cheat code. Just say the lizard that can't be killed. Everyone loves that guy.
That, you know what? That sounds cool. I will say that one.
Yeah, well, we can't comment on the lizard exactly, I think. But the other one, I'm trying to think. I mean, honestly, that's the main one. Some of the ones that I really wanted to do and we couldn't do for a long time are ones that are getting in, and have gotten in, like 610. I'm really glad that we were able to get 610 in, because 610 is cool as hell, and it's really fun to have our own interpretation of that. I think someone asked if 940 is still going in the game. At least as of right now, yes, it is. We're still, it's still planned.
I think I saw a question earlier about any smaller SCPs being added in the future, that if we were allowed to teach them, but I don't know if
I mean, Dave is. I'm sure we will find some way to get Dave back in an interesting way.
Maybe Dave should be
There,
throwable.
oh no! Don't throw Dave. I think there's actually a couple, and that's one of the things I believe people have already done a little bit of work on. Is there are a couple of minor sort of object SCPs that we will be putting in, but we can't. I don't think we can tease. We're not allowed to say yet because I don't know if all of them are confirmed.
Hardcore Alex has
Um,
a really interesting question. He says, I have 80 hours of
yeah.
this game, mostly in spectator mode, spawning enemies and making them like a makeshift battle sim. Could you guys make it a little more user friendly?
Whoa.
I know this isn't priority, but me like AI. Oh, God. I've talked about. Who's the AI guy? Why am I blank? Jason, I think. But
Jason,
Yes.
yeah.
yeah, I want to get him. We talked about doing a session with him because there is some interesting AI route shifting stuff. But he was afraid he would. He actually wanted to make a little obstacle course just to kind of show you how pathfinding works,
Yes.
but he didn't have the time for it. But once the update's out, I'll see if I can do that with him.
Yeah, I think he's actually on vacation at the very moment. But absolutely,
Yes, yes.
actually the AI obstacle course is actually something that we kind of need to implement for our own development, because one of the issues we've run into the most problematic SCP in the game, or monster in the game, is the resonator. I know Jason has spent so many hours trying to fix various bugs on that creature. And so actually having an obstacle course, like, it's one of those weird things that you wouldn't think about in games, is like, for QA, to make sure that we don't break something, we are going to be setting up an obstacle course so that we just tell the AI, hey, get through this, and they have to, jump or climb or walk or jump down to get through this area. And like, in order to make sure that everything, like, one of the requirements for an update to go out is we can run an automated test and say, hey, only pass this build if the AI gets all the way through, all the way through the obstacle course. Yeah, so definitely, I hope we can get Jason in for one of these streams in the future. But as for Alex's question specifically, like doing a more battle sim kind of thing, that sounds a lot of fun. I don't think it would be a main feature that we worked on. We would work on. However, I can totally see that being a pet project from a programmer. So who knows? Maybe it'll find its way into a AI testing map near you soon at some point.
I think he just
Because
wants like a little overview testing map where you could just like spawn things a little bit more easily.
spawn a bunch of things in.
Just watch them
Yeah.
fight, because people love that. Just like spawning different enemy groups and see who's gonna win. I gotta admit, I've spent like more time than I'd like to admit watching like people just like spawn in different Halo enemies and then having them battle against each other.
Oh yeah, definitely. I myself spend the two things that I spend the most time doing when I'm like talking to someone and I need to like just do something to like have in the background, is spawning in enemies and making them fight each other and running around the testing map. Because there's like, with the spawn enemy commands, you can do, and I think I've actually improved it for this update. You can do a bit with that. Yes. And it's always good to sort of discover certain issues that might be there. But that's certainly a fun idea, Alex. And yeah, maybe at some point we'll have a fun little testing thing where you can spawn them in more detail.
Tandoori Chicken asks, will this update's content release be fully complete, or can we expect patches and minor updates in the future for this new content? I think you kind of covered this earlier, but
yeah, like, so it's fully playable, and like it is a polished version of this game mode that is coming out. However, there are updates to it. The most major update to it being that in this version, the sequence of chambers is always the same. And in future ones, we're going to be experimenting with having it randomized and potentially having more chambers that sort of get mixed in as you go. Yeah. So that's the I think that's the answer to that one. Is yes, there will be updates to this game mode, and part of the reason we're doing this, we've talked about this before, is that it's a lot easier to add things to this game mode because it's just sort of adding a chamber or adding a feature or something like that. It's more cordoned off, much easier to test things and to do it in this mode versus having a whole campaign. Because every time we do an update, the elites won't tell you this. We make the QA. I mean, we make them. Their job is to go and play the entire way through the campaign, and so every time we update the game, they have to go through the campaign and go through every single feature and like every single map, every single game mode, and play it through in its entirety, both on single player, dedicated server, and peer to peer. And it is a lot of work. They do an incredible job.
We love our QA so much.
Yeah, like a big reason that the game has so many less bugs than it did before is because of the QA team. We have like this big board and it has all of the bugs. It's a big process and it's a lot of work, but they are instrumental in that. But of course, it's much easier to test a game mode like this, at least once it's stable, because you can sort of test each chamber separately because it's its own unit, as well as going all the way through, of course. Oh, is Point Kid in the chat? Oh yeah, hello there.
Point Kid is in the chat.
I liked your video that you did. Oh, I think you've done a couple.
Was he the one who
that was
the lore video?
I think so. Yeah, the Antarctica video, which was that's the best.
Yeah, that was the
best
great
synopsis I've seen.
Everyone loved that video, so it was a pleasure to share that around. And thank you for contributing that to the Reddit. I certainly hope you will do an exhaustive deep dive into the lore of the testing chambers, since apparently there's lots of little details and artwork that you can pick apart for that. But
yes, there's a lot of stuff in there.
The team,
no,
specifically, yes. Will the upcoming release bring some more story juice or focus more on co-op gameplay? I would love some more Enoch-esque stories.
I think it's less juicy than Antarctica, but there is story stuff in there, but I think it's more subtle and sort of under the surface, and it's more co-op gameplay. So, but certainly that there'll be more coming in the sort of story side in the future. But for this update, it's more co-op with sort of more lore than it is story, I'd say, for this update.
Yeah, because this is just pure gameplay. This is like something that's meant to be replayable. Because back in the 2010s, the peak era of gaming, in my biased opinion. You'd have like your main campaign, you'd play through that, but then there'd be like supplementary modes like multiplayer or co-op, and that would kind of like make you feel like you got a full meal in your gaming experience. And this is the idea, is to like ultimately make 5K feel like the full meal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the many SCP-049s in the chat asked, is this before or after the breach? It is before the breach. In this game mode, it's set before. Someone with a bunch of B's, W's, and R's in their name, which I can't pronounce, says, will the difficulty scale for the amount of people playing, or is it fixed? It does scale. Yeah, it scales.
Out of curiosity, do you think there'll be any chance? Well, so one thing I'm kind of curious is like, what is my incentive to have it like on rough or coarse? Why those sound like bad things? Why do I want? What is my benefit to having putting a gun in there and I want it rough or coarse?
So Zoe, I'll let you answer this one. However, I'll say let's not talk too much about what the rough or fine settings do exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the leftmost one, for rough specifically, um, it'll essentially break down your gun and things like it'll give you consumables, it'll give you throwables, like things that aren't as good of a gun, but still things that can help you out or help you resupply or something. So if it's like you're really down on ammo at the end of a chamber, you can like sacrifice your sidearm or something to resupply your main weapon if you need it, or if you need some healing or something. Um, in the sense of course, I can't say too much about that one, but what I will say is that it it'll give you something different.
Is there any chance that like you just get the bullets and you can throw the bullets at the enemies?
That would be fun. You can't, but that would be very fun. I actually see in the YouTube chat there's two super chats from Devastator
What?
and from Point Kid.
Oh,
Thank you very
I know you
much.
want this to be a chill stream. I'm gonna do my best to be enthusiastic, but not like just
Yeah.
I love super chats.
We've tied Isaac back. The our
Albarnie has a
poor
very
social.
like not be like super rambunctious, and I respect that. Like when I get this, all right. So let's play it cool.
Let's play
Devastator.
cool. Yeah, yeah. We don't even care that you. Yeah, like just super cool, but like we don't even care. Yeah,
We
we're
don't
we're
care.
we're cool like that.
We're cool like that. Hey, Devastator
Yeah.
2322, thank you for the $4.99. Have you thought of releasing to consoles, and how far would you go with 5K since the Foundation lets loose all SCPs to destroy all of humanity?
The answer is yes. We have thought of it, and I can't speak to specific plans, but we do want to. Exactly how or whether that will happen depends on, I guess, how the universe works out. But it's certainly something that we are keen about because I think there's a lot of people who want to um, play SCP games and specifically SCP-5K on console.
Um,
And Point Kid.
Point Kid asks for $20 whole dollars. Thank you for the kind words, story or not. Cannot wait to play the update, and I will love to make a video on it. Oh, well, we can't wait to see it. Also, 2010s was peak era, I agree. Good luck to all of the team. D boys.
Yes, the D boys. It's very. There's a lot of like. We had a lot of fun with this because, of course, there's a lot of There's a lot like the community has a lot of fun with the sort of D boys, D class, foundies stuff. So there's a lot of notes and different scribbles and stuff like that around. Um, and yes, 2010s is peak era. I also agree with that. Um, so Trey, our game director, put a message in the chat, and YouTube hit it for a review. The fucking foundies. um.
Here's a really interesting question
Cool.
from Tacit. If you had the time and resources to make another new game for 5K, what game mode would you make and why?
Oh.
Dating sim.
The dating sim. Like imagine like it's so is this like first person dating sim where it's like still you have a gun but you don't do anything with it? Or is this like it literally you click on a button and it takes you into like a completely like Doki Doki style 2D visual novel
That's
thing?
funnier. Let's see that one.
Yeah, the gun is a dateable character.
It's like Date Everything, that new dating sim
Yeah,
game
I saw
recently.
that. Exactly like that, except it's all the SCPs and the gun and the UIU and Crow and uh and Enoch. Everything everything is dateable. Um the for me, there's actually a game mode that I designed or at least went part way in designing, and I don't think will make it into the game. So So I don't know if I can talk about it, but I think if we had unlimited, infinite money and infinite time, there's definitely like a lot of experimental stuff I'd do. I'd say, for me, I think there's a lot of room in what can be done in FPS games, and specifically because we have this tactical horror sort of pillar of the game. So in an ideal world where money was no object, I'd probably be doing something like that. Something where there's a lot of suspicion and anomalous and sort of interesting, experimental FPS team-based gameplay.
I would just turn it into Undertale, where every enemy encounter it turns into either play a first person shooter, or you can like persuade the enemies to be nice and walk away from you. And that happens every encounter. It would probably be a real pain to play, but I think that would be an interesting option to give like a genocide route or a friendly route where you make friends with all the SCPs.
Yeah, Trey says in chat, D class stands for dating class, so that's true. That is actually confirmed.
That is so true.
Yeah. I see another comment from Point Kid. One last question from me would be, would oh right, I see, would be, are we ever going to see any of our boy Pietro? Other devs have been swarmed to silence, but can't hurt to try. Hang on, let me think about this for a second. Okay, I don't think I can say anything in regards to Pietro. What I can say is like definitely the original SCP-5000 story is integral to the game, and so there's a lot of there is interaction with the original story and stuff like that. But I can't say anything about specific characters because I don't want to spoil anything.
And
Devastator 232 has donated again. Thank you very much.
a very generous $5.99. Any possibility to go against SCP-682 as chase or full or on fight? Also, love what you all do. Can't wait to see all the amazing stuff you all do next. So I think that's
I need to be really careful because Trey's gonna like. Yeah, Gabriel says anybody else see a red dot on Albarnie's forehead. I have to be really careful. I can't comment as to 682. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah,
So,
no comment.
You'll have to wait and see.
Get a lot of threatening messages in the Discord.
It's loading a shotgun. But 682 is the best lizard in SCP. I will say that.
I agree.
Favorite lizard. And the hardest to kill. So.
Well, he's a
Is there a lot of good lizards?
You never have a bad lizard. Haven't you seen one of my favorite genres of web bait right now? Have you ever seen the blank core videos? Where it'll be like a compilation of a specific animal. So there'll be like parrot core, there'll be lizard core, there'll be croc core. They have this very soothing music where it's like doom 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 doom.
And is it just like different animals being like patted and stuff?
Yeah, well, it's like funny videos. It's like, this is snake core. So here's all these quirky videos of snakes being snaky. This is turtle core. Let's see the turtles be really turtly.
I see.
I think you'd really, really love it if you ever like stumble on this like viral niche, and then it like fills your feed with all different animals, and you see all the different, there's puppy core, there's bird core. Of course, I love all the parrot core.
Yeah, parrot core. Yeah, well, was it Captain Crunch? Is that the name of your parrot?
Yes, that is my bird, Captain Crunch.
Yeah. I mean, you need to make an Afray parrot core video.
Well,
or like, I don't know how chaotic he is, but like if you could set up like a separate webcam just for Captain Crunch, and it's like the Crunch cam or something like that.
I'll tell you. There's one little tidbit. Can I talk about the the other SCP that's not such a secret anymore that's coming in this update, and the cool thing that Evelyn did?
Trey, say in chat. Can we say is it about the voice?
Yes.
Okay.
Is
Well, if
that
Trey says in
minor?
chat that we can talk about it, then we can talk about it.
I think it's a really minor, cool detail,
Because
but that won't ruin anything. But if I could talk about the lulls, then I will. If not, then we will.
I think it's fine. I think we talk about it in the devlog. I think it's okay.
Okay, so a really cool thing about
Very
the
good.
new SCP is it has different laughs, and the team members all provided the laughs. So my laugh is hopefully I don't know if I made the cut, but I do know I gave Evelyn my own little laugh track. So hopefully you'll hear my voice laughing at you menacingly. I also tried to get Captain Crunch. Captain Crunch could do an evil laugh, but I could never get him to do it on command. I tried several times to get him to that was my dream, was like to get him to be like part of the mannequin laugh, but I could never ever get him to do his evil parrot laugh where he goes.
Oh, that's great. I bet we'll hear him doing it in the background now.
Yeah, now he just did it a second ago, but you couldn't hear it. Devastator 232 says, "My last question for you is: after 5K, have you thought about continuing SCP as other games, like possibly making When Day Breaks storyline? Question mark.
We've certainly thought about it. I can't say. I mean, who knows what the game will be after 5K? There's a lot of ideas we have for whatever game we want to make next, and we want to keep making games as a fray, with whatever resources we have. So it's definitely something with yeah, SCP-5001 is the next game. We started at 5,000. We're going all the way to 8,000. Let's go. So I'll see you in 80 centuries. SCP-8K, yeah. But certainly it's something that we've thought about, and in an ideal world where money and time is infinite, I would make so many SCP games, and I have a lot of respect for those who make the sort of smaller, simpler games, like the creator of the original SCP Containment Breach has a really good a game about the stairwell. Is it 087? SCP-087, I think. There's a lot of sort of smaller single SCP-focused games that are really cool. I think it's made by the same creator. 087B, yes, that's it. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for that. I think, yeah, in an ideal world, I'd love to do more of that stuff, but who knows really what comes next. There are going to be post-launch content for 5K. Sorry, Zoe, you go.
I was just going to say, unfortunately, we need to pay rent and eat food, so.
Yeah. We have to yeah, pay food and eat rent.
Only we could just photosynthesize.
Yeah, photosynthesize. Yeah.
That also requires us gamers to go outside and touch grass, so maybe that's not so feasible.
Yeah, I don't know if gamers and game developers would get enough sun.
Well, by any chance, have you ever heard of Hideo Kojima's Game Boy project, Bokai, The Sun is in Your Hands, where you had a solar sensor on the Game Boy that would encourage children of all ages to go outside and play in the sun so they could power their solar gun to battle vampires?
That is very interesting. I haven't heard of that until just now.
That's the most Kojima thing I've ever heard in my life.
It does sound very Kojima, and like the character's called Sunman.
His name is Django, a vampire hunter. It was for the Game Boy Advance. It was a very interesting little game. one of the most Kojima games to ever exist. But it was literally forced you to go touch grass. Of course, it kind of made it difficult to play because the sun would make the screen glare. But I think it's the thought that matters.
Absolutely. So I'm seeing now that we are coming up on two hours in the stream. So I just want to do a quick check how we're doing.
I'm doing good, but I know this is like the beginning of your Monday, even though it's my Sunday. So
it is the beginning of my Monday, and it is the end of yours and Zoe's Sunday. So if we want to give a 15-minute timer before we finish up, or a 10-minute or whatever.
I think so. I think that's fair. We'll do like a 15-minute countdown, and then we will cut it off. So get in your questions now, get in your programming, ask about the Matrix, ask about the fun details that maybe they can reveal, because, Albarnie's actually got to go to work. I mean, this is technically work. He's got to do real work. This is fun, and I would love to, sit here and accumulate super chats for 8 hours, but, Albarnie's too important.
That's correct.
I'm technically not supposed to be working right now. It's still Sunday.
Yes, we have to... So we'll need to to take those hours off at some other time in the week, so you can get your rest.
We'll just sleep in tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have any questions that we haven't asked or we missed throughout, feel free to ask them again. And over the next 15 minutes, we'll answer as many questions as we can.
BWGRBB asks, how does the melee system work?
It's timing based. So we have a couple of different attack animations, and if you attack with the right timing, you can do it much faster versus if you just do it too slow, or if you attack too fast, I think you won't have the right timing and it'll go slower. So it's sort of about getting the rhythm of the attack.
So is it almost like those early Melee games for the Xbox era? There was this big evolution of can we make Melee combat feel fun? There was this game by Capcom for the original Xbox that was called Breakout, where you had a glowing hand and it was a first-person shooter, but it had the character action combat. Is it kind of like that?
I actually haven't played that game, so I don't know exactly, but it is, it's timing based. So if that's what that is, then yeah. It's funny because the older system, I think, is a more potential to be a more interesting system, but it was more clunky. This system is a little bit simpler, but much more intuitive, and I think more fun overall.
Losing Sanity asks, on the roadmap, it's proudly declared that no generative AI was used in development. How have you all enforced this?
So we work pretty closely with our contractors. Obviously, our employees, we have hard rules and it's easier to monitor. But for those who are contractors, we work pretty closely, so it's easier for us to monitor. And we have work in progress work of all of the work that goes into the game. So it's very easy for us to enforce to make sure there's no AI. And we wouldn't accept anything that goes into the game that's been created with AI because it goes against our values, it goes against the spirit of what we're trying to create. And in particular, Trey, our game director, and Kyle, our art director, are very staunch critics of AI and very enthusiastic about artistic integrity, because that ultimately using AI, regardless of the other stuff, is just a question of artistic integrity, right? In the same way that we don't allow stolen artwork or plagiarized artwork, we don't allow AI artwork. It's just it lacks artistic integrity. So that's how we enforce that.
And honestly, do you think any AI could match the majesty of Kyle's illustrations? I have yet to see one come up with anything that...
AI couldn't make this giant thing.
Yeah, I think...
That's for sure.
The thing... So I'm not going to go on a whole rant about AI right now, but I think the thing that that AI lacks, that it would critically not be able to do, apart from all of the obvious things, is sort of cohesiveness and consistency. And and the sort of inventiveness that we get from the human artists that we employ on this project would just not be possible otherwise. There's a very human element that is undeniable, and you can't get anywhere other than humans. And even if you could, the ethics of that is its own question.
Bump in the night. Sorry, did you want to finish your thought?
Yes. Yeah, you go. Yeah.
Bump in the night asks, will there be an achievement involving Baby 3199?
When the update goes live, no, but in the future, probably there'll be probably something to do with that. I'd say. We have a lot of plans for achievements, and we want to do more work on that. Achievements are a tricky thing when you have a game that's constantly evolving, but I think we do plan on getting some achievements later on for the for this mode in particular, because it's a little bit easier to work with. So yeah, that'll be fun.
Tacit asks,
I've personally have written down some ideas for achievements for this
yes,
for this game mode myself.
Well,
so
Zoe has actually
if
programmed a whole achievement system. We just aren't using it yet. So
yeah.
very, very excited for when we can actually do some stuff with that.
Tacit asks,
it should make making new achievements easier. So once we're actually ready to start adding them to the game, it hopefully won't take too long because of that. We'll see.
Hardcore Alex for the $5 says, yes, I know another question about AI.
Yeah.
Have you noticed their strange hiding spots on the weapon test map?
So I think this question is talking about game AI as opposed to generative AI. Yes, strange hiding spots. There are some strange, like, it depends on whether you're talking about AI sort of actually trying to hide in a spot or whether they're just sort of getting stuck. There are a couple of strange things, certainly. We've fixed some instances of that, and I know Jason has put a lot of work into trying to make some of the AI more consistent and less weird. And we've also put some work into into fixing some of the stuck spots that are more map specific. Cool.
This was the question before we got that super chat. Tacit asks, without giving too much away, what sort of objectives will be expected to be complete besides surviving/killing enemies?
If you're talking about challenges, there's a range of different challenges. I don't want to spoil them, but it's mainly about different interactions with regular game mechanics, so like use of weapons, as well as interactions with enemies. So like killing enemies from height, distance, with melee, removing limbs, that sort of stuff. That's the category. Tori asks, can melee weapons block or parry other melee attacks? Not right now, but it's something that, like, certainly that kind of category of things, or staggers and that kind of stuff is I think in some level of consideration for the melee in the future. BWJBRB asks, any in-game unlockables such as cosmetics or anything like that? For this update, there's no new unlockables, but there are cosmetics. There's a bunch of, free to use, totally free cosmetics that you have, as well as I believe one new Omni Edition exclusive cosmetic for the D class. But yeah, most of them are all sort of very in-world and pretty simple.
The crazy stuff will have to wait till once the mod support is added. Then, you can make the anime girls run wild. I know that there's like a PAMWAC division in the SCP. Bobcat always asks about when's PAMWAC making the game. But, once modding support, then you can go wild. SCP-049 asks, will there be incentives to use the MVG night vision goggles? They seem to be rather useless in the current build, despite looking incredibly awesome.
Seems like Trey has written yes in reactions to that.
Yes, there's a lot of yeah. Trey knows it very well because he's doing a lot of that planning, or has done some of that planning already, and is doing more of that now. But yeah, there's certainly more stuff we want to do with certain player mechanics like night vision and flashlights and stuff like that to have more interactions with the rest of the game, and more uses for that, but also corresponding limitations that are fun to work with. Let's see.
What you call it? Light turned out level confirmed.
I mean, maybe. I actually don't know. I don't know exactly what we have planned for the lighting of certain levels because I've seen all of the um, what do you call it? Like the plans, and I know there's various like updated information that Trey is preparing for certain things. But I actually don't know how lit up the levels will be, so I actually don't know. Um, Trey helpfully asks, "Is game dead?" Unfortunately, yeah, it's dead. It's
Yes.
gone. It's been 3 months, and there will no.
There actually is no 0.17 update.
Yeah, we
I'm
lied.
just
Sorry,
deleting the
guys.
game in the notes.
Like it's
Nope.
just the wallpaper peels off, and 914 is just a 2D image. It's like, sorry, guys, we forgot like this whole time. We forgot to work on 0.17. It's gone. Um, yeah, it's been deleted off my and all the D class people that played it, they're just paid actors. So sorry, guys. Okay.
The
Let's
Silk
see in
Song
the.
curse, it's never coming out.
I'm so excited for Silk Song. I think it always seems like it's closer, and it's like it's like an asymptote. It's always getting closer to the line, but never reaching it.
I love that Silk Song meme. Like Silk Song confirmed. Well, it's supposed to come before the end of the year, right? That everyone when the Switch 2 came out, people were more like hyped for the fact that Silk Song is confirmed more so than anything else. Although
I think it's like the most. I think it's the most wish-listed game on Steam, or at least it's in the top couple, which is really impressive. For an indie game, and Australian game devs represent. I believe. Can't remember exactly where they're based, whether it's like Perth or Adelaide, but they're Australian, so hell yeah. And I'm very excited for that game.
it seems like
Yeah, we got to get SCP-5K up on that list. We got to get the SCP-5K most wish listed game. Come on, guys.
What about the any Donkey Kong Bonanza fans here? I don't know. I've just seen so much gameplay. I played it like briefly for like 15 minutes at like Best Buy. I love that game. I wish I was more irresponsible or more money and I'd buy a Switch 2 just to play that game. I just love all the footage of like smashing through his Donkey Kong. Well, when are we going to have a Bonanza mode where you can transform into a Super Gorilla mode and smash through the fully destructible levels in 5K?
No comment on that one. I'm very impressed. I've been playing. A lot of members of the team have been playing the Battlefield 6 beta recently, and it's very impressive the amount of destruction they have, and with how good the lighting looks on that destruction, because none of it's baked. It's all dynamic, and they managed to, have a lot of destruction going on. It's very impressive.
I put in that beta, and I was like shooting walls everywhere with my rocket launcher, and I could not make it, holes in the walls. How does the destruction work in Battlefield 6? Is it like fully dynamic or just certain areas?
It's very interesting. I've been looking at and trying to figure out like where the seams are and stuff like that. They've done an incredible job. I think it's mainly the areas, like they have all of the buildings surrounding the main areas, at least in the more urban maps, are destructible. But then I think further up and further out than the playable areas, it's not destructible. which kind of makes sense.
Ah, interesting.
So yeah, it's interesting, and it's fun. Like I was in a room next to the other people from the team. I'm like, oh no, how do I get there? Oh, I just pull out my rocket launcher and just explode the wall and walk through. It's great. Yes, hopefully there's no Family Guy skins.
Hardcore Alex asks, I love AI in games like Stalker and etc. Do you think you will give squad mechanics to AI? Right now, it seems like they work like unorganized. Also, spawn menu, reliable, please.
Yes, so the spawn menu is now reliable. That is one of the things I fixed in 0.17. So hopefully that helps you there. But in terms of squad mechanics, I mean, it's one of those things that might be necessary to get the AI behaviors we want, but with all those features, like whether or not you have an actual squad mechanic, the things that matter to the player is whether it feels like they're coordinated and whether they sound like they're coordinated, like whether they communicate that to the player. There's a lot of games, for example, Fear, that actually doesn't have any coordination, but players continually say that they feel like they're coordinated and very smart because they communicate as if they're coordinated. So, really, whether or not there's going to be a squad system for the AI depends entirely on whether it's required to get the behavior that we want. We have a lot of, for example, the work we've done recently with AI in the last two updates, 0.17 and 0.16, has been focused on AI direction, which is allowing the level designers to tell the AI more specifically what to do, because you can have the most intelligent, specific AI behavior that can work in all scenarios, and that's all well and good. But really, what matters is that the level designers can tell the AI what to do and when to do it, to make it fun and do the sequencing. So, like generally, having good tooling is almost more important than having really emergent, impressive AI. Yeah.
All right, final round, and then it's dinner time for me. Whatchamacallit? Last few questions, then we're closing down in 2 minutes. Scab says, squad mechanics are heavy undertaking, and you need to do something with them. It is very easy to throw in squad mechanics and have them not feel very different. So he thinks squad mechanics are easy. I don't know if I agree with that. How easy is it to add AI squads? Every game when the
Oh no, I
development
think they're saying it's very easy to do all that work and then have it not feel any different. Yes.
Okay, so
definitely agree with you there, and I know, Scav, that you have experienced that because I'm sure you've messed around with that sort of stuff. It takes a lot of work to have them coordinate intelligently. A lot of that is the communication to the player. Tacit asks final question about 914 before I go to bed. What was the idea behind the overheating and faulty outputs? Just to discourage excessive use or something else? Yeah, it's less so. I mean, excessive use is one way of putting it. It's to encourage intelligent use of it. So it adds a risk and reward element where the player can choose what element to do, but it also adds an external factor that limits what they can do a little bit. And the limitations mean that it's a little bit harder to just do the same thing every single time. So similarly with the random elements, the idea is that there's a player choice element, and the player is directing where they're going, and then the game's random and non-random elements can sort of push them to make a decision one way or another. And so the pressure, for example, makes it so that if you're in a low team rank and early on, very fine has a very high pressure, and so is more likely to have a failure of an output versus later on.
Yeah, it's
I should have let you answer that
like
one, Zoe.
like Albie said, it's mainly no, it's fine. You said it better than I would have been able to say it, so it's fine. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's less to discourage constant use and more to encourage smart use of it. Yeah, this little pressure gauge that I have on the screen right now is going to be your main communicator for that. That's kind of what I was alluding to when I said you kind of need like to experiment and use kind of context clues to kind of learn how 914 operates, like how the gears turn, so to speak. Yeah, just gotta be smart.
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 All right, and with that,
the
let us wrap things up. Any final thoughts for these wonderful people who joined us tonight before we exit out, continue our days, end our evenings, eat pizza, and ultimately kill a little bit more time before update 017 can be unleashed upon the world?
Yeah, joke's on you guys. I get to play it already, so you
I've
fools.
been playing it.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I think it's pretty good. No bias there. I'm enjoying it. I like one of the things when I was testing, like I was testing things because like various bugs or whatever, and I realized I played like halfway through and I only needed to play the first chamber because I was having fun. I was like, damn, okay, that's good. We've made a good mode because it's one thing to make a good mode in theory. It's a total another thing. It takes a lot of work to make something actually fun. And with all the justifications in the world in theory, like it needs to be tested and iterated on and made fun. And I'm really proud of the work that the team has done to make that happen. I think it's a really solid update. I think you guys are going to really, really enjoy it. I hope so. And I can't wait.
And if you find any bugs with 914, no, you didn't, and it's not my fault.
No.
No.
It's Wednesday, Slaps. The update is Wednesday. It's this Wednesday. It's really soon. 9:20. And I think let's close this out with a nice chant of
8:20.
8:20.
I have one more thing.
8:20, not 9:20.
My bad. 8:20. 8:20.
8:20. Yes.
Let us.
I have one more thing to
Yes.
say before we go that I've been reminded for, is to say that this update is going to be very cool. However, there are going to be more changes to it. So we're really interested to hear your feedback. And there will also be additional things that we're going to be introducing in 0.17.1, both based on what we already know and based on player feedback, including things like chamber randomization and more chambers. So we really want to hear your feedback when the update comes out, and really excited for you guys to play the first iteration of this really awesome mode.
All right.
Okay, now we can do our chants.
Yes. D boys, D boys,
D boys, D boys, D boys, D boys, D boys, D boys,
D boys, D boys. Yeah. All right. With that, sign off. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for our next our next community event. As soon as I can tackle someone down, there might be coming up very, very soon. Stay tuned to our socials. We'll let you know. There might be something very special planned. I don't want to talk about it until I have 100% confirmation to move forward. But we will have more events with other people, and I can't wait to have them show off all the hard work they put in. D-Boys for life, D-Boys forever, and D-Boys out.
Bye-bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye, guys.